Number 1. We've got a real treat for you. A 1964 Buick Skylark V8 convertible that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $12,000. This classic beauty is a true gem, and it's got all the features you could want in a vintage ride. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller says it's in good shape, and from what we can see, it looks like they're telling the truth. The ad mentions that there's no rust, no cracks, and no damage, which is always a good sign when you're dealing with a car that's almost 60 years old. Under the hood, you'll find a Wildcat 310 V8 engine that's been completely rebuilt, so you know it's got plenty of power. Plus, with brand new tires, brakes, and a carburetor, this baby is ready to hit the road whenever you are. One of the coolest things about this Skylark is how original it is. It's got bucket seats, the original rally wheels, and even the original radio. It's like stepping back in time to the 1960s, but with all the benefits of modern upgrades. The white paint job looks clean and classic, and with a convertible top, you can enjoy the wind in your hair on those sunny summer days. And let's not forget about the power steering. It's a feature that makes driving this vintage car a breeze. Now, the seller is asking $12,000 or best offer, which might seem like a lot for an old car. But when you consider the work that's gone into this Skylark, from the engine rebuild to the new parts, it's actually a pretty fair price. Plus, with special plates and a clean title, you can be sure that this car is legit. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic convertible that's got style, power, and originality, this 1964 Buick Skylark V8 is definitely worth checking out. It's a piece of American history that's been well maintained and updated, and it's ready for a new owner who appreciates its vintage charm. So, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Craigslist and make an offer before someone else snaps up this sweet ride. Number 2. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist. Get ready to feast your eyes on a 1973 Chevrolet Chevy C20 truck, and it can be yours for just $10,500. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. This yellow gem is rocking a powerful 405-horse V8 engine under the hood, paired with an automatic transmission that features overdrive for smooth cruising. You'll appreciate the power steering and brakes, making it a breeze to handle on the road. And when the weather gets hot, you'll be thankful for the AC keeping you cool. The seller claims the truck is in good condition, and from what we can see, it looks pretty solid. The body appears straight, and the original paint job is still shining bright. Step inside, and you'll find a clean interior that's been well maintained over the years. But here's the best part. This C20 isn't just a pretty face. The seller mentions that it runs and drives well, with plenty of power to spare. That big block 454 engine is no joke, and you'll feel it when you hit the gas. Now, I want to keep it real with you. While the seller says the truck is in good shape, it's important to remember that it's still a 1973 model. It's not going to be perfect, and there may be some minor imperfections or signs of age. But overall, it seems like a solid ride with a lot of character. So if you're in the market for a classic Chevy truck with a powerful engine and a cool vintage vibe, this 1973 C20 might just be the one for you. At $10,500, it's a fair price for a piece of automotive history that's ready to hit the road. As always, be sure to do your due diligence before making a purchase. Check it out in person, take it for a test drive, and have a mechanic give it a once-over to make sure everything is in good working order. Number 3. Hey there, car enthusiasts! Today, we're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1968 Ford Galaxie XL500. This convertible is a real head-turner with its fresh, eye-catching burgundy red paint job that cost a whopping $8,000. It's powered by a beefy 390 engine and features an automatic transmission, making it a blast to cruise around in. Now, let's talk about the condition. The seller mentions that it's in good shape, but there are a few things to keep in mind. The odometer reads 1,346 miles, which is quite a bit for a classic car. It also needs some work on the convertible top and a few finishing touches here and there. But hey, that's part of the charm of owning a vintage ride, right? The seller is asking $15,000 for this beauty, which might seem a bit steep considering the work it needs. However, with the brand new paint job and battery, it's clear that some serious cash has already been invested in this Galaxy. It's definitely a fair price for a classic convertible with this much potential. Overall, if you're looking for a fun project car that's sure to turn heads wherever you go, this 1968 Ford Galaxy XL500 might just be the one for you. It runs and drives, has a clean title, and boasts a stunning new paint job. Just be prepared to put in some elbow grease to get it in tip-top shape. But trust me, it'll be worth it when you're cruising down the road in this classic American muscle car. Number 4, we're taking a closer look at a 1967 Chrysler that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. With an asking price of $6,500, this classic beauty might just be the deal you've been waiting for. Now, let's dive into the details provided by the seller. This Chrysler comes with a clean title and is being offered by its second owner. The car has undergone some significant improvements, including a brand new exhaust system, a revamped fuel system, and a complete overhaul of the brakes, including new drums, shoes, wheel cylinders, and a master cylinder. That's some serious attention to detail. Under the hood, you'll find a rebuilt 383 motor with a mild cam, giving this classic some extra pep in its step. The seller mentions that the motor is all stock but looks good, so you can expect a nice blend of originality and performance. The 727 transmission has also been serviced, ensuring smooth shifts as you cruise down the road. The seller does admit that the interior could use a bit of work, specifically mentioning that it needs a new headliner. However, they also point out that there are no rust holes, which is a huge plus for any classic car. It's described as a clean California car, so you can have some peace of mind knowing it hasn't been subjected to harsh winter conditions. Over the past 4 years, the seller has invested over $7,000 in receipts for the work done on the car. This includes the complete new brake system, rebuilt motor, serviced transmission, and rear differential. It's clear that the seller has put a lot of love and care into this Chrysler. While the car does need a new headliner, the seller is upfront about this, and it's reflected in the asking price. Based on the extensive work done and the overall condition of the car, this 1967 Chrysler seems like a solid deal for any enthusiast looking for a classic cruiser with some room for personal touches. As always, we recommend checking out the car in person, taking it for a test drive, and having a trusted mechanic inspect it before making any final decisions. But if you're in the market for a vintage ride with a lot of potential, this 1967 Chrysler might just be the one for you. Number 5. We've got a real treat for you, a 1971 Chevy Custom Deluxe that's up for sale on Craigslist. With an asking price of $14,500, this classic truck is sure to turn heads and get your heart racing. Now, let's take a closer look at what the seller has to say about this beauty. First off, the condition is listed as excellent, which is always a great sign when you're dealing with a vehicle that's over 50 years old. The truck has 8 cylinders, rear-wheel drive, and runs on gas. The odometer reads just 10,268 miles, which is incredibly low for a truck of this age. One of the most striking features of this Chevy is its original green paint, which the seller says is 98% intact. That's a rare find in the world of classic vehicles, and it's a testament to how well this truck has been cared for over the years. The seller also mentions that the truck has never been in an accident, which is another huge plus. Under the hood, the motor has been refreshed, and the seller reports that it has no problems and drives fine. That's exactly what you want to hear when you're considering a classic vehicle purchase. The transmission is automatic, and the truck comes with a clean title, so you can have peace of mind knowing that there are no legal or ownership issues to worry about. The seller also mentions that they purchased the truck from the son of the original owner, who had passed away. This adds a nice touch of history to the vehicle and suggests that it has been well loved and cared for throughout its life. The fact that the original owner's manual is still in the truck is just icing on the cake. Based on the detailed description and the photos provided, this 1971 Chevy Custom Deluxe seems like an excellent find for any truck enthusiast looking for a classic vehicle in great condition. The original paint, low mileage, and refreshed motor all point to a truck that has been cherished and maintained over the years. Of course, as with any vehicle purchase, we always recommend seeing the truck in person, taking it for a test drive, and having a trusted mechanic give it a once-over before making a final decision. But if you're in the market for a vintage truck with a great history and a lot of character, this 1971 Chevy Custom Deluxe might just be the one for you. Number 6. Today we've got a real gem for you. A 1978 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. With an asking price of $9,500, this vintage luxury coupe is sure to catch the eye of any Cadillac aficionado. Let's dive into the details provided by the seller. This Eldorado Biarritz is in good condition, especially considering its age. It's powered by an 8-cylinder engine and features front-wheel drive, which was a groundbreaking feature for American luxury cars at the time. The odometer shows just 66,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car that's over 40 years old. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives great, which is always a positive sign. They also note that everything works except for the clock, but that's a minor issue that shouldn't deter any serious buyers. The car is equipped with cold AC, which is a must-have for any classic car lover who wants to enjoy comfortable cruising on hot summer days. One of the standout features of this Eldorado Biarritz is its power sunroof, which adds an extra touch of luxury and style to the already impressive package. The seller also points out that the car has new tires, which is a great bonus and saves you from having to make that investment right away. The white paint color is classic and timeless, and it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. While the seller admits that the car isn't perfect, they emphasize that it's in very good condition for its age. This honesty is refreshing and helps potential buyers set realistic expectations. As with any classic car purchase, we always recommend seeing the vehicle in person, taking it for a test drive, and having a trusted mechanic inspect it before making a final decision. The seller is asking for cash in person only and isn't interested in trades or payments, so be prepared to have the full amount on hand if you decide to make an offer. Overall, this 1978 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic luxury coupe. With its low mileage, great condition, and desirable features like cold AC and a power sunroof, it's sure to provide plenty of enjoyment for years to come. If you're ready to experience the pinnacle of 1970s American luxury, this Eldorado Biarritz might just be the perfect car for you. Number 7. We've got a real treat for you. A 1951 Buick Deluxe that's currently for sale on Craigslist. With an asking price of $12,500, this vintage beauty is sure to catch the eye of any Buick lover or collector of classic American automobiles. Now let's take a closer look at what the seller has to say about this stunning car. First off, the condition is listed as good, which is impressive for a vehicle that's over 70 years old. The seller mentions that the car is in real good shape for being original, which suggests that it has been well maintained throughout its life. Under the hood, you'll find an inline 8-cylinder engine, also known as the Fireball engine. This power plant was a hallmark of Buick's engineering prowess in the 1950s and is known for its smooth power delivery and reliability. The seller also notes that the car runs well, which is always a great sign for a classic vehicle. The transmission is automatic, making this Buick Deluxe easy to drive and enjoy. The seller describes the car as real beautiful and based on the description, it's easy to see why. The fact that the seller hates to part with it but needs to sell due to moving and lack of space suggests that this Buick has been cherished and well cared for. One unique aspect of this listing is that the seller mentions having the original price tag for the car. This is a rare and fascinating piece of documentation that adds to the vehicle's history and provenance. It's a nice bonus for any collector who appreciates the story behind their classic cars. As with any vehicle purchase, especially a classic one, we always recommend seeing the car in person, taking it for a test drive, and having a trusted mechanic inspect it before making a final decision. However, based on the seller's description and the overall condition of this 1951 Buick Deluxe, it seems like a promising opportunity for anyone in the market for a vintage American automobile. If you're ready to experience the style, craftsmanship, and performance that define the golden age of American car manufacturing, this 1951 Buick Deluxe might just be the perfect addition to your collection. Don't miss out on the chance to own a piece of automotive history. Number 8. We've got a real gem for you. A 1968 Cadillac DeVille convertible that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. With an asking price of $14,000, this vintage luxury drop top is sure to turn heads and make a statement wherever it goes. Let's dive into the details provided by the seller. First off, the condition is listed as good, which is a promising start for a car that's over 50 years old. The seller mentions that the motor and transmission run strong and shift great, and they even put that to the test by driving the car 150 miles without any issues. That's a testament to the mechanical soundness of this classic Cadillac. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine, which is exactly what you'd expect from a full-size American luxury car of this era. The car has been upgraded with a new AC compressor that's been converted to use R134 refrigerant, making it more environmentally friendly and easier to service. The seller has also installed a new brake booster and master cylinder, ensuring that the car stops as well as it goes. The interior upholstery is described as being in good shape, which is always a plus for a convertible. Speaking of the convertible top, it's a heavy-duty unit with a glass rear window, adding both style and functionality. The brakes and steering are reported to work great, and the car even has cruise control for those long, leisurely drives. The chrome trim is said to be in good shape, and the front side glass on both sides operates well. The seller also notes that the floor pan has no rust, holes, or patches, which is a crucial factor when considering a classic car purchase. Now, it's important to note that the seller does mention some areas that need attention. There is rust on the lower bottom all around the outside of the body, but they clarify that it's not all the way through. They offer to provide more pictures upon request, which is a good sign of transparency. Additionally, the AC blower motor has stopped working, the corner windows are slow to rise, the left rear quarter glass needs a new switch, and the convertible top requires assistance when raising and lowering. While these issues may seem daunting at first glance, they're not uncommon for a car of this age, and many enthusiasts would relish the opportunity to tackle these projects and bring the car back to its former glory. As always, we recommend seeing the car in person, taking it for a test drive, and having a trusted mechanic inspect it before making a final decision. Overall, this 1968 Cadillac DeVille convertible presents a fantastic opportunity for any classic car lover who appreciates the style, luxury, and performance of vintage American automobiles. With its strong mechanical foundation and iconic design, this car has the potential to be a real showstopper once the necessary repairs and improvements are made. If you're up for a rewarding project and want to own a piece of automotive history, this DeVille might just be the perfect choice for you. Number 9. We've got a real treat for you, a 1965 Ford Thunderbird that's currently up for sale on Craigslist. With an asking price of just $6,800, this iconic American luxury coupe is sure to catch the eye of any vintage Ford lover or collector. Let's take a closer look at what the seller has to say about this beautiful T-Bird. First off, the condition is listed as good, which is impressive for a car that's nearly 60 years old. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives nicely, which is always a great sign for a classic vehicle. Under the hood, you'll find a 390 Ci FE V8 engine, which is paired with a C6 automatic transmission and a 9-inch rear end. This powerful combination is sure to provide a smooth and enjoyable driving experience. The seller notes that a lot of work has been done on the suspension, brakes, and steering, which suggests that the car has been well maintained and cared for. One of the most impressive aspects of this Thunderbird is its originality. The seller states that the paint is original, except for the hood, and the top and drivetrain are also original. This level of authenticity is highly sought after by collectors and enthusiasts alike. The seller is offering the car at $6,800 or invites reasonable offers, which seems like a fair price considering the vehicle's condition and originality. As a bonus, the seller also has a full set of 6x 15-inch rims with nearly brand new Hankook tires and pristine 1965 Thunderbird hubcaps. These extras add even more value to the package. It's worth noting that the car is currently fitted with 8x18 Riddler wheels and tires, which may not be to everyone's taste. However, the seller implies that the price would be lower without these aftermarket wheels, giving the buyer some flexibility in terms of the final look of the car. As with any classic car purchase, we always recommend seeing the vehicle in person, taking it for a test drive, and having a trusted mechanic inspect it before making a final decision. However, based on the seller's description and the overall condition of this 1965 Ford Thunderbird, it seems like a promising opportunity for anyone in the market for a vintage American luxury car. If you're ready to experience the style, performance, and nostalgia that the Thunderbird embodies, this 1965 model might just be the perfect addition to your garage. Don't miss out on the chance to own a piece of automotive history at a very attractive price point. Number 10. We've got a real treat for you, a 1978 Lincoln Continental Mark VIF that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic beauty is priced at just $5,500, and let me tell you, it's a steal. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A car this old must be in pretty rough shape, right? Well, think again. The seller has been upfront about the condition of this Lincoln, and they've described it as being in good shape overall. Sure, the paint might not be perfect, but hey, that just adds to its vintage charm. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 460 V8 engine that's paired with a smooth shifting 3-speed automatic transmission. And get this, the seller has even gone the extra mile and given this baby a complete tune-up, rebuilt the carburetor, deleted the emission system, and installed a brand new exhaust. Talk about a car that's ready to hit the road. The interior of this Lincoln is also in very good condition, especially considering its age. You'll be riding in style and comfort, and you'll definitely be turning heads wherever you go. Plus, with new tires and good brakes, you can feel confident and safe behind the wheel. Now, I do want to mention one thing. The odometer reading is a bit of a mystery. It's showing just over 15,000 miles, but the seller suspects that it's probably closer to 115,000 miles. But hey, that's still pretty low mileage for a car that's over 40 years old. Overall, this 1978 Lincoln Continental Mark V is a real gem. It's got a clean title, no rust, and it's been well maintained by its current owner. And let's be real, who doesn't love a classic coupe with a bit of orange paint? It's the perfect way to stand out from the crowd and show off your love of vintage cars. So, if you're in the market for a classic ride that's sure to impress, head on over to Craigslist and check out this 1978 Lincoln Continental Mark V. With a price tag of just $5,500, it's an opportunity that you won't want to miss. Number 11. We've got a real blast from the past. A 1979 Ford Ranchero 500 that's up for grabs for just $5,000. Now, I've got to be honest with you. This car isn't in the best shape, but hear me out. First off, can we talk about how cool this car is? It's got an original GT 420 topper, which is definitely a rare find. And let's not forget about the Cleveland 351 motor under the hood. That's some serious power right there. But I do have to admit that this Ranchero has seen better days. The seller mentions that it hasn't run in about 6 years, and it's likely going to need a new starter to get it going again. Plus, it's been sitting for the past 15 years, so it's probably going to need some new tires and bushings to get it road ready. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A car that's been sitting for that long must be in pretty rough shape. And you're not wrong. The seller does mention that mice have been making themselves at home in this Ranchero, so it's definitely going to need a good deep cleaning on top of the mechanical work. But here's the thing, this car has a really cool history. It was the seller's grandfather's car, and he actually worked at the local Ford plant. Plus, it's only got 80,000 original miles on it, which is pretty impressive for a car that's over 40 years old. And let's not forget about the extras that come with this Ranchero. It's got a Ford CB radio, which is a really cool vintage feature. And the seller mentions that there are some random Ford parts that come with the car as well, so you might be able to use those for repairs, or even to sell for some extra cash. Overall, this 1979 Ford Ranchero 500 is definitely a project car. It's going to need some work to get it back on the road, but if you're up for the challenge, it could be a really cool and unique ride. Plus, with a clean title and a price tag of just $5,000, it's a relatively affordable project to take on. So, if you're a fan of vintage Fords and you're not afraid to get your hands dirty, this 1979 Ford Ranchero 500 might be the perfect car for you. Just be prepared to put in some work to get it back to its former glory. Number 12. Do I have a treat for you today? We're taking a look at a truly one-of-a-kind 1978 Ford Thunderbird Diamond Jubilee Edition that's currently up for sale on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this car is a real head-turner. First off, let's talk about the price. At $14,400, this Thunderbird isn't exactly a budget buy, but when you consider the rarity and the condition of this car, it's actually a pretty fair price. According to the seller, this is one of only 564 Diamond Jubilee editions produced, and it comes with a Marti report to prove it. Now let's dive into the details. Under the hood, you'll find a 351 Cleveland engine paired with an automatic transmission. This car has all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a high-end Thunderbird, including full power, a 6-way power seat, cold air conditioning, and even a power antenna that still works. But what really sets this car apart is the interior. The seller mentions yards of thick, luxurious shag carpeting throughout. And they're not kidding. Even the trunk is decked out in shag. It's like stepping into a time machine back to the 1970s. The exterior of this Thunderbird is just as impressive as the interior. It's finished in a beautiful pastel beige color, with color-keyed Ember Valeno turbine wheels, side and bumper moldings, grille, and top. It's a color combination that you don't see very often, and it really makes this car stand out from the crowd. Now, I do want to mention one thing about the mileage. The seller states that the odometer shows 37,000 miles, which were represented as actual. However, due to the age of the car, the title will show the mileage as exempt. This is pretty common for classic cars, and it's not necessarily a red flag. Just be aware that the actual mileage may be higher than what's shown on the odometer. Overall, this 1978 Ford Thunderbird Diamond Jubilee Edition is a real gem. It's a rare find with a clean title and a luxurious interior that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. And with only 37,000 miles on the odometer, or thereabouts, it's a car that's been well maintained and cared for over the years. If you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to stand out from the crowd, this Thunderbird is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to pay a premium for the rarity and the condition of this one-of-a-kind ride. Number 13. we've got a real treat for you. A 1962 Studebaker GT Hawk that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $8,500. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A car that's over 60 years old must be in pretty rough shape, right? Well, think again. The seller has been upfront about the condition of this Studebaker, and they've described it as being in good shape overall. It's got a 289 V8 engine under the hood and an automatic transmission, and the seller says it starts, drives, and stops just like it should. That's pretty impressive for a car of this age. Now, I do want to mention that this GT Hawk isn't a show car. It looks good, but it's not perfect. The seller also mentions that it needs some electrical work, but hey, that's not uncommon for a classic car like this. And here's the really cool part. The seller is including new wiring harnesses, a wiring diagram booklet, and a bunch of other goodies with the car. That includes the owner's manual, repair manual, a current Studebaker driver's vendor issue listing businesses selling Studebaker parts, and even a GT Hawk history booklet. Talk about a comprehensive package. One thing that really stands out to me about this Studebaker is the color. It's a classic white, which is a timeless look for a vintage car like this. And with just 78,000 miles on the odometer, it's clear that this car has been well maintained over the years. Now, I know that $8,500 might seem like a lot of money for a car that needs some work, but when you consider the rarity and the history of this Studebaker GT Hawk, it's actually a pretty fair price. These cars aren't exactly common, and finding one in this condition with all the extras included is a real score. Overall, if you're a fan of classic American cars and you're looking for a project that's not too overwhelming, this 1962 Studebaker GT Hawk might be just the ticket. It's got a clean title, a good foundation, and a whole lot of potential. Plus, with all the extras included, you'll have a head start on getting it back to its former glory. So, if you're ready to take on a classic car project and you've got $8,500 burning a hole in your pocket, head on over to Craigslist and check out this 1962 Studebaker GT Hawk. It's a rare find that's sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go. Number 14, we've got a real treat for you. A 1950 Plymouth Deluxe that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $7,500. This car is a true piece of American history, and it's clear that the current owner has taken good care of it. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Plymouth. The seller has described it as being in good shape overall, and that's pretty impressive for a car that's over 70 years old. It's been repainted at some point, which is a nice touch, and the fact that it came from California means that it's not all rusted out like some other classic cars you might find. Under the hood, you'll find the original 218 cubic inch flathead 6-cylinder engine, which is paired with a 3-speed manual transmission on the column. The seller does mention that the clutch shudders a bit when letting out, and that the engine leaks a little oil, but hey, that's pretty common for a car of this age. They also mention that the steering box could use some adjustment or a rebuild, but again, that's not unexpected for a car that's been around for over 7 decades. One thing that really stands out to me about this Plymouth is the fact that it still has its original 6-volt positive ground electrical system. That's a really cool feature that you don't see very often these days, and it's a testament to how well this car has been preserved over the years. Now, I know that $7,500 might seem like a lot of money for a car that needs a little bit of work, but when you consider the rarity and the history of this 1950 Plymouth Deluxe, it's actually a pretty fair price. These cars aren't exactly common, and finding one in this condition with a clean title is a real score. The seller also mentions that they've taken this car to a few shows, which is a great sign. It means that it's not just a project car that's been sitting in a garage for years. It's a car that's been enjoyed and appreciated by its current owner. Overall, if you're a fan of classic American cars and you're looking for a piece of history that you can actually drive and enjoy, this 1950 Plymouth Deluxe might be just the ticket. It's got a clean title, a solid foundation, and a whole lot of character. Plus, With a little bit of TLC, it could be a real showstopper at any classic car event. So, if you're ready to take on a classic car project and you've got $7,500 burning a hole in your pocket, head on over to Craigslist and check out this 1950 Plymouth Deluxe. It's a rare find that's sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go. Number 15. Have I got a treat for you today? We're taking a look at a stunning 1979 Lincoln Mark V that's currently up for sale on Craigslist, and let me tell you, this car is an absolute beauty. First off, let's talk about the price. At $14,900, this Mark V isn't exactly a budget buy, but when you consider the condition and the rarity of this car, it's actually a pretty fair price. The seller has been upfront about the fact that this isn't a perfect show car. There are some minor cosmetic blemishes, but overall, it's in excellent driver condition and would make a fantastic addition to any classic car show. One of the things that really stands out about this Mark V is the low mileage. With under 23,000 miles on the odometer, it's clear that this car has been well maintained and cared for over the years. The seller even has documentation dating back 24 years that suggests the mileage is correct. Another thing that's really cool about this car is the fact that it has some rare options. It's got the carriage roof option, which was only offered in 1979 and was standard on the Bill Blass Designer Edition, although this car isn't a Designer Edition. It's also got power vent windows, which is a really neat feature. Under the hood, you'll find a strong and smooth-running engine paired with a transmission that shifts perfectly. The car also has new tires with under 200 miles on them and a new fuel tank, so it's ready to hit the road. Now, I do want to mention a few minor issues that the seller has pointed out. The power antenna needs to be repaired or replaced, the AC needs to be recharged, and it might take R12 Freon, which can be hard to find these days, and there are a few other small things like a broken ashtray lid latch and a passenger side power seat that doesn't tilt. But overall, these are pretty minor issues that shouldn't be too difficult or expensive to fix. One thing that really caught my eye about this Mark V is the factory AM/FM 8-track player. It even comes with a crate of 8-track tapes. Now, the seller hasn't actually tried the player, probably a wise move, given how prone those things were to eating tapes back in the day, but it's still a really cool feature to have. Overall, this 1979 Lincoln Mark V is an excellent example of a classic American luxury car. It's got a clean Ohio title, a gorgeous white paint job, and a whole lot of style. And with a window sticker that shows the original price of $16,750, which would be over $72,000 in today's dollars. It's clear that this was a high-end car in its day. If you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go, this Mark V is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to pay a fair price for a car that's in excellent condition and has some really rare and cool features. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Number 16, have I got a treat for you today? We're taking a look at a gorgeous 1968 Ford XL convertible that's currently up for sale on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this car is a real head-turner. First off, let's talk about the price. At $14,900, this XL convertible isn't exactly a budget buy, but when you consider the condition and the rarity of this car, it's actually a pretty fair price. The seller has described the car as being in good condition, and based on the details they've provided, it's clear that this is a car that's been well maintained and cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a 390 four-barrel engine that's rated at 315 horsepower. That's a lot of power for a car from the 1960s, and it's sure to put a smile on your face every time you hit the gas. The car also has power steering and power brakes, with disc brakes on the front, which makes it a breeze to drive and stop. The seller has also mentioned that the car has had a lot of recent work done to it. The water pump, fuel tank, and fuel pump have all been replaced. and the carburetor has been recently rebuilt. The brake system has also been completely replaced less than 1,500 miles ago, so you can feel confident that this car is going to stop when you need it to. But it's not just the mechanical aspects of this car that are impressive. The interior has been updated with new carpet, and the power top works perfectly. And let's talk about that paint job. It's a beautiful shade of red that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Now, I do want to mention that the odometer shows 57,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. However, as with any classic car, it's always a good idea to have it inspected by a qualified mechanic before making a purchase, just to make sure there aren't any hidden issues. Overall, this 1968 Ford XL convertible is an excellent example of a classic American muscle car. It's got plenty of power, a gorgeous paint job, and a comfortable interior. And with a clean title and a fair price, it's a car that's sure to make any classic car enthusiast happy. If you're in the market for a vintage convertible that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you drive it, this XL convertible is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to pay a fair price for a car that's in good condition and has had a lot of recent work done to it. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Number 17. Today we've got a real treat for you. A 1984 Cadillac Biarritz that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $9,500. Now, I know what you might be thinking, a Cadillac with a 4-cylinder engine? But hear me out, because this car is a real gem. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Biarritz. The seller has described it as being in excellent shape, and based on the details they've provided, it's clear that this car has been well maintained over the years. It's got a rare stainless steel hardtop, fresh tires, and minimal rust, all signs of a car that's been loved and cared for. Now, I know that the 4100 engine in these Cadillacs has gotten a bit of a bad rap over the years, but as any true Cadillac fan knows, with proper care and maintenance, these engines can run smoothly and reliably. And based on the seller's description, it sounds like this particular Biarritz has been very well maintained. One of the things that really stands out to me about this car is its history. It's a Florida car that's now up for sale in the Boston area for the summer. That means it's likely been spared the harsh winter weather that can take a toll on classic cars, and it's ready to cruise the streets in style. And speaking of cruising, the seller mentions that this Biarritz handles great on the highway. That's a big plus in my book. There's nothing quite like the feeling of hitting the open road in a classic Cadillac. Now, I do want to mention the mileage on this car. The odometer shows just 52,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. However, as with any classic car, it's always a good idea to have it inspected by a qualified mechanic before making a purchase, just to make sure there aren't any hidden issues. Overall, this 1984 Cadillac Biarritz is a real find. It's a well-maintained, low-mileage classic with a rare stainless steel hardtop and a history of being loved and cared for. And at just $9,500, it's a price that's hard to beat for a car of this caliber. If you're in the market for a classic Cadillac that's sure to turn heads and provide plenty of smiles per mile, this Biarritz is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to give it the love and care it deserves, and you'll have a car that will provide years of enjoyment on the road. Number 18. Today we've got a real treat for you. A 1976 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $5,500. This land yacht is a true survivor, and it's ready to hit the road for your next cross-country adventure. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Delta 88. The seller has described it as being in good shape overall, and based on the details they've provided, it's clear that this car has been well maintained over the years. The seller is only the second owner, and they've put 27,000 miles on it over the past 10 years, bringing the total mileage up to 76,000. Under the hood, you'll find an Oldsmobile 350 engine that runs great on Mobil 1 full synthetic oil. The TH400 transmission and drive shaft were refurbished in 2015, so you can feel confident that this car is ready to roll. The seller has also just installed a new gas tank, new rear springs, and new rear air shocks, so you won't have to worry about any unexpected repairs anytime soon. One of the things that really stands out about this Delta 88 is the interior. It's got a full white vinyl top and white vinyl interior that's in good original condition. The black carpet is also original, and there are no cracks in the dash. This car is loaded with features like power windows, air conditioning, and a power bench seat, so you'll be riding in comfort and style. Now, I do want to mention a few minor issues with this car. The seller notes that there is a little bit of rust in front of the rear wheels, but overall the frame, trunk, body, floors, and rockers are in very good condition. The driver's headlight is also damaged, but the seller has the parts and trim to fix it. The exterior of this Delta 88 is finished in a stunning 30-coat blue metal flake paint job that the seller says is blazing in direct sun. However, they do note that there is some orange peel and flaws visible in indirect light, so keep that in mind. One thing that really caught my eye about this Delta 88 is the fact that it's from the last year of production for several key features. 1976 was the last year for the Rocket 350 455 V8 engines, the last year for the GM hardtop body style with no door pillar, and the last year for the 6,000-pound B-body GM cars. That makes this car a real piece of automotive history. Overall, this 1976 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale is an excellent example of a classic American land yacht. It's got a strong engine, a comfortable interior, and a whole lot of style. And at just $5,500, it's a price that's hard to beat for a car in this condition. Now, I do want to mention one potential issue with this car. The title is missing. That's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. You'll want to make sure you understand the process for getting a new title in your state before you commit to buying the car. If you're in the market for a classic car that's ready to hit the road and turn heads wherever you go, this Delta 88 Royale is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to give it the love and care it deserves, and you'll have a car that will provide years of enjoyment on the road. Number 19. Today, we've got a real treat for you. A 1950 Chrysler Imperial that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $5,500. This beauty is a true survivor, having been around for a whopping 74 years. Can you believe it? Now, let's be real. This car isn't in perfect condition. It's got some patina, which is to be expected for a car of this age. The seller themselves admits that the original horsehair carpeting is in poor condition, especially in the driver's footwell. But hey, that just adds to the character, right? Despite its age, this Imperial is still a smooth operator. It's got a 323 CI straight 8-cylinder engine that purrs like a kitten, and a Chrysler 4-speed auto transmission with a safety clutch. The steering is tight and the ride is smooth as butter. Plus, it's got power windows and power brakes. Talk about luxury. The seller mentions that all the glass and chrome is original, which is pretty impressive. And get this, there are no cracks in the steering wheel. That's a rare find for a car this old. The tires are in good condition, but they are 15 years old, so the seller recommends replacing them before taking any long trips. Now, the rear package tray and top of the rear armrest have a cover due to some deterioration of the original fabric. But that's just a minor detail in the grand scheme of things. This car is a real head-turner, drawing attention everywhere it goes, especially at car shows. In fact, it even won the Judge's Choice Award at the 2009 VAE car show. One thing to keep in mind, this is a big car. It's got 130 wheelbase and weighs well over 4,000 pounds. So, if you're looking for a compact car, this might not be the one for you. But if you want a classic piece of American automotive history that's sure to turn heads, this 1950 Chrysler Imperial is definitely worth checking out. Number 20. Hey there, Mustang fans! Today, we've got a real gem for you. A 1965 Ford Mustang that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $9,000. This classic pony car has been given some serious love and attention, and it shows. First off, let's talk about the upgrades. This Mustang has newer body panels, which means it's looking fresh and sharp. Under the hood, you'll find an inline-six 200 engine that's paired with a 4-speed auto transmission with overdrive. That means you'll have plenty of power and smooth shifting for those weekend cruises. Inside, the seats and dash have been replaced, giving the interior a fresh, modern look. The headliner is also new and hard with visors, so you won't have to worry about any sagging or tears. And if you're a music lover, you'll appreciate the new radio and speakers that have been installed. But what really sets this Mustang apart is the attention to detail. The previous owner upgraded the brakes to discs, which means you'll have better stopping power and control. They also added a new steering wheel, which not only looks great, but also feels great in your hands. Now, let's be real. This car isn't perfect. The seller mentions that it needs a new trunk lock, which is a relatively minor fix. But they also note that it needs a paint job and some light bodywork. While the car is listed as being in like-new condition, it's important to keep in mind that it's still a classic car that may need some TLC. Overall, this 1965 Ford Mustang is a great find for anyone looking for a classic car with some modern upgrades. It's got a clean title and just 50,000 miles on the odometer, which is pretty low for a car of this age. And with a price tag of just $9,000, it's a steal compared to some of the other classic Mustangs out there. So, if you're in the market for a classic pony car that's been given some serious love and attention, this 1965 Ford Mustang is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to put in a little work to get it looking and running like new again.